Greetings to all and welcome to the contingency plan. This video is in regards to finding water in a desert or arid climate. This will mostly pertain to a shit hits the fan situation in places like Eastern California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, parts of Utah, and West Texas, where you are bugging out either to an entirely different location altogether or to a more secluded and safer part of the area you are in. The time of year will play a role in many cases, so let's assume for the sake of argument that this is all taking place in the summer and not during the spring or winter. There may be some difficult choices to make during this journey. More than likely you will have a specific direction you are heading with an endpoint in mind. While you don't want to wander too far off a straight line, which will make the overall journey longer and increase the chances of getting turned around and lost, you also don't want to die of dehydration because you refuse to alter your course. Along your way, there are several signs to look for that won't guarantee you water, but will at least increase your chances. We all know that the human body can survive about 3 days without water. That sounds like you have 3 days to get from point A to point B, or at least a location where you can get to water such as a stream, creek, reservoir, or river. However, that's not actually the case. Yes, you have approximately 3 days before you die, but it's not like you're doing fine and at the 72-hour point you suddenly drop dead. Well before you reach the 3-day mark, you're going to have some serious issues. After about a day of travel with no water, you're going to start getting one hell of a nasty headache, followed by dizziness, confusion, cramping, and intense fatigue. Those final 2 days are not going to be pleasant, and all these side effects are going to have a very negative impact on your ability to think clearly and be smart when it comes to locating water. You really need to do everything you can to find water within the first 24 hours, and then every 24 hours after that, just to give you a halfway decent chance of survival. That being said, here are some things to keep in mind. Water runs downhill. Do not go up in elevation thinking you're going to find water. Stay as low elevation-wise as you can, and at the very least, scan very low spots with your eyes and binoculars if your route doesn't take you directly through them. Most plants need water. If you find plants that look well hydrated, start digging a hole next to them and looking for moisture. If you don't find any after a foot or two, stop. You'll just be burning calories that you can't afford. Some plants, like cactus, can be broken up and smashed, which will give you something to suck on and give you at least enough to hydrate the inside of your mouth and lips. Don't forget the roots of many plants will also contain some liquid as well. Not enough to drink, but possibly enough to wet your lips. Any amount of water can be a psychological boost, at least for the short term. Watch for birds, insects, and animals. Birds especially, circling above, can potentially lead you to water. Likewise, keep an eye out for heavily traveled game trails. These will many times lead you to water eventually. As mentioned earlier, there is a fine line between wandering off your route to follow birds or game trails and falling victim to dehydration. This is a call you will need to make at the time depending on your specific situation. Remember, look for signs of life. Vegetation, birds, insects, etc. can all mean the possibility of a nearby water source. You may choose to travel at night and sleep during the day when traversing a desert. If not, hang up a cloth on a cactus, stick, or tree branch to collect any dew during the night that you can, and remember to get to it before the sun comes up and dries it out. Sucking on the cloth may give you at least something. If you hit the jackpot and it somehow rains during your journey, have a plan in place to use a tarp or something to catch every drop you possibly can. You can also set up the same sort of tarp system at night to trap as much dew as possible while you sleep. If you see any ground that appears to be damp, start digging. Especially check for this in arroyos, or dried riverbeds as the white man calls them. If you dig a hole a few feet deep and it starts to fill with water, try to filter it if possible before drinking it. If not, just go ahead and drink it. Drinking slightly contaminated water may make you ill, but drinking no water will kill you. If you find an area with large boulders, check them for any small pools of water, especially in shaded areas that get little to no sunlight. There may be some water remaining from the last rain. If you've never lived in the high desert, you may not realize just how much water comes down during a summer rainstorm in these areas. The good news is you can see a summer storm or monsoon coming from many miles off in the distance and track which direction it is going. If it's headed your way, prepare whatever you can to catch as much rainwater as possible. Just remember not to be down in a wash or an arroyo because a flash flood will be on top of you before you can blink. I've been in flash floods in New Mexico and Arizona, and they are scary, powerful, and give you a deep respect for Mother Nature. You do not want to be caught off guard by one. You will die. If you're traveling in or next to an arroyo, look for corners, pockets, and low points that are protected from the sun where water would pool when the rest of it has evaporated. If you find moist sand in any of these locations, start digging. If you dig about 18 inches and water does not start seeping into the hole, move on and keep going. Desert survival is probably the most challenging of all climates simply due to the difficulty of finding water as well as the potentially hot days and very cold nights. Your best bet if you must travel through a desert is to know your exact route and bring enough water with you to make it to your location. If you rely on water finding skills alone, there is a very good chance you won't make it. In an extreme emergency, you can drink your urine, but that is a very short-term solution and you will need to find a water source as soon as possible. Thank you for watching and God bless each one of you. Peace.